It is June 20th. I'm in zone 6B. It's 10:30 in the morning and it's around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything in the container garden has been doing pretty well. I've had just a couple of issues. I'll show you those here in just a minute. But the nasturtiums are in full bloom. I just love to see them blooming. I like to see what kind of colors that they will pop out because I really never know exactly what colors I'm going to get. And then down here I have a cucumber in a container, and this right here is called a jade cucumber, and this will be the first year that I've grown it. I thought I would give it a try in a container, and I'm going to grow it similar to how I do my peppers by putting a little water bin underneath. Now this is my Meyer lemon tree. Looks really good. I'm really happy with it. I was kind of scared there. It had lost a lot of leaves when I moved it outside, but it's beautiful now, and so is the rosemary. And then over here I have the apple mint, and it was starting to dry out a little bit because we did reach some pretty high temperatures. So I went ahead, I just cut it all back, and now I'm getting some new growth. And this is the lime thyme, always a pretty bright green. And then the issue that I've had has been aphids on my scallions and chives. I noticed my scallions stopped growing, and they also turned a very light green. And then they were on my chives, so I cut my chives all the way back. This is my older plant. I think it's about 3 to 4 years old, and so I knew I could cut that back and then treat for it. However, over here, this is my chive plant, which is 1 year old, and I also have scallions in this container, and I noticed there were aphids on here as well. And so I'm afraid to cut back this chive plant because it's so young. I didn't know if I would kill it or not. So I basically sprayed both of my plants with spinosad, and then I also dusted with DE, and I seem to have them under control. I see just a little bit now, and I'm hoping that these are going to recover fine. The older chive plant looks pretty good. It's been about 2 weeks since I cut it, and it's recovering, and it's showing a lot of new growth. Now this is a golden sage. It's about doubled in size since my last container garden tour. And then over here by the fountain I have some perennial herbs like the Greek oregano, and I have this in all of my gardens just about, and I love to use that. Over here I have a chervil with some more scallions which have not been affected by the aphids, thank goodness, so I still have some I can use. And then I have this little calamondin here, and it is just putting out all kinds of little tiny miniature oranges. Of course I call them oranges. It has kind of an orange flavor, but they're much more tart as far as the juice, but the rind is beautiful, and I've been using that quite a bit. Over here I have a Siam Queen basil, one of my favorite basils to use for my Thai cooking, and it was not doing well, so I went ahead, I cut it all the way back in hopes of stimulating some new growth because I only have just a couple of those growing. And over here is the African blue basil. I've shown you this in some other videos, and I've explained that you can only grow this from a cutting. You cannot grow it from seed, and therefore this is the only basil that I like to grow from a cutting. All of my other basils, I love the sweet flavor of growing from seed and that new growth. And so I have actually been taking a lot of cuttings of this blue basil, and I've been popping them in some water and letting them grow roots, and I have been putting these throughout my gardens to attract bees. Bees love this African blue basil. So I thought I would perform a little experiment in my square foot garden, and I took one of my cuttings which had some nice roots on it, and I put it right here in the square foot garden soil. I cut off the little flower on the top. Just wanted to see if it would root down. And remember, I'm not here in this particular square foot garden to water any of my plants, so I'm pretty much dependent on rainwater. And when I returned here in June, it was just beautiful. Now I was a little bit scared to do that with my native soil, so I went ahead and transplanted my other cuttings that had some nice roots on it and just some potting soil mix, and I let those become very established before I moved them into my gardens. And so I did that also, and they did great. So right by the blue basil I have some parsley and scallions growing. And right over here is my French tarragon. at the end of May. I also cut it. I cut it all the way back and I dried it. I think I ended up with about a pint of dried tarragon, which I love, and I used my dehydrator for that. I'll leave a link below the video. I did an off-the-cuff kind of video to show you how I dry my herbs, so you're welcome to check that out. But fresh tarragon is really nice dried, as well as Greek oregano, so those are two things I always dry. Also thyme. And then here is my large leaf Italian basil. I'm going to go ahead and thin this container down to about probably about 3 basil plants. I like for my basil to get nice and big and healthy, so I try to keep my basils thinned because, you know, I'm growing them from seed. And then here's my cilantro. This is about 4 weeks growth, and I'm always planting this about every 2 to 3 weeks so that I always have a supply of cilantro. It tends to bolt fast once these summer temperatures kick in. And then in this container I have red Reuben and Siam Queen basil, and I did do some thinning on here. I'll probably thin it down to, again, about 4 plants per container, maybe 6. So it was just about a week ago in another video I showed you that I thinned them out some, so you can see how much larger the plants are since I thinned them. A lot of times your plants will stay very small if you don't thin them out and give them some room to grow, okay? And so here is one basil plant. I have a little tiny Siam Queen down here to the right, but this is basically one basil plant. I have thinned it out. I've been pruning on it to make it like a big bush and make it just beautiful. That's what I like. And then over here I have a cilantro container. It's not up yet. I just recently planted that. And then here's the green stalk system, a nice vertical planter. I'll leave some links below the video to show you some more examples of the green stalk. And I had some romaine lettuce planted in here, and it was starting to bolt. So this was about a week ago, and I wanted to go ahead and get it out before it turns to bitter and starts to bolt. And you can kind of tell whenever you're growing lettuce, if you pull a leaf or two off and it has a bitter smell, you'll smell it, you know, instantly. You'll know that that plant is ready to be pulled, you know, unless you just want bitter lettuce. But for what I grow, I cook, okay? I eat everything that I grow, and so I can go ahead and tell you, a lot of times I'll show you how to grow things that are nice and sweet and full of flavor. And so you can grow some lettuces that are meant to be bitter. For instance, though, this is bib lettuce, and it has more of a sweeter flavor. And I also noticed that just a few days later, this was starting to turn a little bit bitter. So I wanted to go ahead and pull it. I still need to go ahead and get some more. But I've been pulling, you know, leaf here, leaf there, off of this for sandwiches and that kind of thing. So it's done really well in the little system here. I also have some endive growing. I have some pockets here that I have planted things in. They're not up yet, but I'll leave a little list here off to the left to kind of show you what is growing in here. And it always does really well for me. I just really enjoyed using it. It was given to me to do a review on, and I'm just been really happy with it. This fennel here is just about ready to be pulled out. It is really done well. And so I'll just leave a few pictures for you here to show you some of the things that I've been growing. The cilantro here is about 2 weeks old, and then I planted some more. It's not up yet. My nasturtiums, it looks like they have been attacked by leaf miners, at least one of the plants, and so that's the first time that's happened to me. I have some wonderful endive here, and I have been using just a lot of the nasturtiums. I need to thin out this little basil plant here so it's 1 per pocket. My scallions are coming up real nice, as well as the Swiss chard. So there is the container garden. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please let me know by giving me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And also, if you haven't already, feel free to hit that little bell off to the right of the subscribe button, and you'll receive all notifications from my channel. Also, I am only on Google Plus and YouTube right now, so whenever you're out there sharing my videos on your favorite social media platform, I sure do appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching, and y'all have a beautiful day.